based on current rate, it's about 2%. Not a huge savings, but a little bit. And again, it locks the price in, and it does protect us against any the upward fluctuation. It's possible that the co-op's price is going to go down and we're going to pay our fixed rate, but I would say we're not going to pay hugely more with the power supply agreement than we possibly could with co-op.
Isn't it just very simple that we will go with option number 1, not with option number 2?
Right.
And where on that form can we say that?
Well,
the other thing is,
what I've added in here is in bold that says that that's what we'll.
And this has to be signed today, not Friday?
Has to. They need to receive it by tomorrow. So the next step is they will send us a. After all of these forms are back, they'll send us the final contract, which has to be executed on the 25th, and by everybody, and it has to be done the same day because, of course, power prices on contract fluctuate with over time. So that's why they're looking for a signature date on the 25th.
This agreement is made, would today's date go in there?
Yes, yeah.
What is the board's wish?
So you've changed that letter to read something that you're more comfortable with?
Yes.
Okay, then I'll make a motion that we have the chairman sign it.
Second.
Any further discussion? I need to fill in, this agreement is made this 16th day of October?
Yes, correct.
The only other place for me to sign is where it says signature of authorized representative.
That's correct.
Did we vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
There you go. Aye.
May I ask a question?
Go ahead.
So you're doing two things. One is you're voting for the lowest bid. And then you're also saying if the lowest bid doesn't win,
That we are not.
you are not going
signing.
to.
I think we're alluding to the fact that if the lowest bid isn't lower than what we're currently paying,
Well, see, that's the third thing, yeah.
we're not going
Right.
to buy in. But there's
So
no
you're also
contract.
saying that,
This
yeah.
is an agreement to sign.
You're letting them know.
One
you're-
page agreement to sign. I don't think it's an enforceable agreement, but they'll think it
Now,
is.
will you be available to sign the contract on the 25th? And this is, and in talking with Jeff, it's, you can sign it, you don't have to go there, you can sign it here sometime that day. So let it be signed and then faxed back to them.
Yes. Any
Thank
more issues on electrical energy? Thank you for your sticking with it. It's appreciated.
Well, LRPC has done a lot of work to bring this together. It's one of a number of initiatives I think that member towns sort of came together on in the spring, and how can we do some things together that maybe will benefit everybody? And I think this is one that I'm aware of that's coming to a decision point, so that's good.
Okay, next is land use change tax. This is for property at map 65-3-7. There's a couple of acres that are being taken out of current use. And what is your board's wishes? You had a question and you spoke to Rod.
Yeah, I spoke to our assessor, and I guess in the past, the board has adopted a conservative approach to land change taxes with regard to
Mhm.
resources. We can assess as much as $1 a cubic yard of gravel. This is nowhere near that. So I guess my comment would be that we need to sit down at some point in time and have a conversation how we're going to go forward.
Mhm.
If we're going to continue to go forward the change of use amount on this is $50,000 for 2 acres. So it's
So
tax.
how did we-
tax.
How did we come up, the tax collector came up with this
The assessor,
amount?
the assessor came up with that amount, right?
Our assessor came up with that amount.
Right.
Based upon criteria that a previous board
Based on
provided.
past practices, right?
Does he have any recommendations, or is it something you'd like to discuss?
He's not gonna recommend anything. He just, it's not his job to do that.
No?
But he just informed me that we can charge as much as $1 a cubic yard at the upper end of things, which, I mean, 2 acres, there might be 500,000 cubic yards of gravel, who knows?
Right.
So the,
All
the
right.
long and the short of it is the tax change cost is $5,000 to this taxpayer.
And this is just taking it out of current use, right?
Right.
So,
Normally, my understanding of taking land out of current use, for instance, a house lot, the values established as to the future use of that lot as a house lot. And that's what the change of use tax is based on. This isn't a house lot, this is a commercial venture. So it has to be premised upon something, and we don't have, there isn't a house going on it, it's not a residential use, so it's not in the standard format of how we establish values. It's gotta be established by something else. And the way it's normally done is by volume. And there's perilously little tax advantage to gravel tax. If we get 2 cents a yard for gravel tax, so we don't make any money on that. And I don't know, is it this board's belief that land and current use is there for a reason? It's thank God. Did the camera go off?
no.
I mean, are we trying to preserve the land in its natural state? Is that what we're doing?
Right.
And or are we just deferring taxes? I mean, what would the taxes have been on that? I think it was back in the current use when Charlie Whitten was alive, so back in the 80s.
It'd be a few, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so you got 20 years worth of taxation on that. Is
Yeah,
that
right
more than
on.
$5,000? Probably.
Is this something you'd like to follow up on?
No, I think it's something we need to talk about as a board.
I think you have hit an interesting subject here, and I'd be willing to work with you on it.
I mean, what's our policy? We barely have a policy on gravel pits because the states divested themselves of that
Yes, it's a
interest.
work in progress.
So,
Is your computer working?
I mean,
Yeah, I have batteries.
I guess we need to have a longer conversation
Yeah.
about it.
Yep,
Not much we can do about this one.
I
Right.
do the picture.
No, I think it's an interesting point.
yep.
I'd certainly be listening to what anyone has to say.
I'll see if I can get myself on the agenda one of these weeks after the budget's over.
Well, and I know, for instance, that there are resources out there, like seminars about land use change, that can help us get smarter about the right approach to take.
And I've got to, I mean, just a caveat, it's important that we have gravel mining in
Yes.
order to maintain the residential development.
It's part of our road construction.
Yeah,
yes.
it's part of the fabric of a small town. But it's just trying to come up with that balance between land and current use and land.
Is there a motion on this, gentlemen?
Well, having said all that, I'll move to sign it.
And I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion passes 3-0. You know, something that's good for the town is also good for its residents, so
Right,
that's not an oxymoron what you're talking about.
right. And it isn't, I mean, it's commercial activity, it isn't as if that cost is totally stranded on the owner. It's, you know, they're gonna get a return on that by digging.
Yep.
While you're reading, just an aside, I did ask Mr. Parsons about his revenue. And so far for the year, he's up $1,084. He's up to $32,100 versus $28,837. So at that pace, he should easily cover any increases in his budget with his revenue.
Yes, and vehicle.
Yeah.
Kitchen, fun.
Come on in.
You know, we've also had some litigation with regard to ground
Absolutely.
pits, which I haven't got involved with, but let me tell you right up front, if we get into litigation on the ground pit, they're gonna pay $1 a yard, because I don't come here for free.
Exactly.
There's no reason for us to work for nothing.
Exactly.
There she is.
Gina?
Hi.
Gina, come on down, let's do Parks and Rec. It's a little bit
Parks and
early,
Rec.
but,
Is there a television show?
how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Fantastic. What do you got new for us?
Not too much.
I have it somewhere.
So it looks like you are requesting about $4,200, 41 and change less than in 2017.
Yeah.
Right, and that, the biggest difference there is actually all of the reduction is in dock maintenance,
Right.
which is, you replaced docks last year, correct?
Yep.
So we don't need to replace them this year.
Nope, should be good. Full sets now.
We went up a little on lifeguards, because
Yep.
we're gonna do a little more time.
Yep.
How's that program working out? I spoke to Kevin.
Yeah.
Is there a partnership there? or-
Ann and I, Ann McNamara and I went up and talked with him, and he's very receptive to helping us as far as training and whatever sounding board he can be to us, he will, as far as them running the program. No. And he even said, you know, if you're in a position where you have somebody calling sick and you need a replacement, he could probably send a replacement guard down. So there would always be two.
Is that
on.
helpful?
I think it's a good thing to have. I mean, I don't know if we ran into that issue this year, but we have in the past where one was sick or couldn't make it or whatever, so that throws the whole shift off.
And what is your goal this year as far as lifeguard coverage?
What did we talk about? 4 days?
4 days, 2 lifeguards, I think.
For the whole season.
Yeah, and I thought it was 2 days in the middle of the week that we were gonna
Yeah.
not have
Yeah.
coverage.
Is that reasonable?
I think so, and I think we should do better about posting when the lifeguards are there. I mean, granted, it says, you know, no lifeguard on duty, swim at your own risk, but I think if we post when, thank you, when they're actually gonna be there or scheduled to be there. You know.
And is the struggle still going to be getting people?
Yes, but with Camp Sentinel, or actually Kevin said any of the camps, that they would be willing to train, and I think that's a big issue because it's like $400 to get your lifeguard certificate and then another $250 or $300 to get your WSI, so you're already in the hole $750 per kid to be, you know, to make that up in the summer is, it's a pretty big investment. So they would be willing to train for free, so we would just need to find able bodies.
And how does the town do that? Other than you, who does it?
Well, I mean, we're just gonna, I think if you take the.
You run an ad in the spring?
We do, but I think if you take the cost part out of it,
Mhm.
you might get more kids who are receptive to doing it. And especially and if we're having, I mean, to work 11:30 to 5:30 in the middle of the day kind of precludes you from having another job where you worked in the morning and then went to another job at night, or going to another job at night. So we pay pretty decent, and if they were guaranteed 4 days for the, that might be more.
Should we include more money in the training line?
Well, what
I mean,
we,
should the town assume that?
well, what we did was we would pay half of the training, a quarter the first year, a quarter for the second year, so we got them for 2 years. We did that with one guard this year, Tori Crutching, turned in her certificate, the financial part of it, so we reimbursed her. And so if she comes back next year, we'll give her another quarter of that.
But it's still a $750 cost.
Right, but that's what I mean, if the camps are willing to train the lifeguards without cost.
I'm just wondering if we shouldn't just take the risk. We'll train you to be a lifeguard, and you're gonna work for us and try to enforce some agreement to work for a couple of years or 3 years. That's part of that training program.
Well-
I mean, you're never gonna keep everybody, and you're always gonna lose a little bit on it. but
Yeah.
Would it make it easier to fill those positions?
Well, one approach to doing that is to pay it up front, and then if they leave, then you collect it back, or collect part of it back. The problem with, say, spreading that over like 2 years is, at the end of the first season, they're coming back. The next season, they're not coming back. Well, now there's nothing you can collect back at that point, because it's seasonal employment. But while it's ideally you don't want to be paying out money to train somebody that then turns around and leaves and goes someplace else, if the cost of the training is a significant barrier to somebody taking the job, and we're not getting able-bodied, capable people to come to work for us, we certainly need to look at
That's why I think with
some alternatives.
and Kevin said Camp Sentinel does it. He said the third week of June they usually train, or the first week of June, and then he said William Lawrence does it another week. So I think we have that option with all the camps in town to say we have somebody, but they can't make it this week. So maybe one goes to Sentinel, one goes to
So
Belknap.
training is training.
Right.
I mean,
And
it's
they're
like-
all-
It's like Adam's firefighters, whether he sends them to Concord to train, or they have them on a satellite in Ossipee, they're still learning the same skills.
Right, well, the difference is that we, in the past, have asked for Red Cross certified training. The camps use YMCA. You still know how to swim, you still know how to lifeguard, it's just we also pay into the Red Cross, and he said if the camps trained them, they could train them to be a lifeguard and also teach swim lessons. That's YMCA as opposed to Red Cross. And would it be that?
Is that a stumbling block for you?
I don't think it is. I mean, I put my kid in swim lessons so she knew how to swim. I didn't care if it said Red Cross or YMCA on the certificate.
Whether they call it beginners or polywater,
Exactly.
you're still learning lacrosse.
Exactly, and I think that to me is, there's another $200 we would save by not having to.
Is this something that you'd be willing to try this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think we ought.
First of all, it might take some of the time off of you. You are a volunteer, and you live these programs, and I'm sensitive to that.
So, yeah.
Is there any possibility that there's a vendor, a camp would say, we'd run the lifeguard program for you?
I don't think so. I mean, I think that was your hope when you talked to Kevin, but I don't think they want to do that. But he's certainly willing to, like I said, train them. If we ever got in a bind where we needed a lifeguard, he would send them down. And I think as a resource, asking him, I still need to send him our manual and the schedule we had for lifeguards so he can get a better feel for it.
Are you comfortable with trying this?
Yeah.
I am if you are.
I'd still like to add $1,000 to the training budget. I mean, I just don't, I understand the the hopes for the future, but I can just see the camps are open, everybody's busy, and we've got somebody who wants to get trained as a lifeguard.
I'm biased. Barry Tibbet, Steve Snow, and I started at 16 being a lifeguard and swimming instructor, and I support the program 100%. So I would support if you made that as a motion.
What line are you talking about increasing?
Lifeguards, equipment and training.
Equipment and training, so go from 800 to 1,800, which would change the bottom line to 36,761, which would still be a $3,150 reduction over last year. I'm gonna make that motion.
Go ahead, sir. Which line?
Line 6, I'm sorry,
680.
35. No, I'm sorry, 20. Lifeguards, equipment and training,
From
from 800 to 1,800,
Yes.
changes the bottom line to 36,761.
Okay, I'll second that motion. Any further discussion?
All right, so are we voting on the total budget with that thousand?
Unless there's something else, you want to talk about another item. I kind of had one question. Is swimming director, swim coach, those positions are filled and all set?
Lindsay Libby, who ran the program for 2 years, will not be coming back as program director. That's another thing we talked to Kevin about. He suggested possibly using like an intern from a recreation program, get your age or whatever. So that's something where
Okay.
we need to.
I got a question about the recreation areas line item. It looks like, when I look back over several years, it just bounces up and down. Okay, this year we've got 2,500 in the budget, and we've only expended to date $271. So what is recreation areas?
That covers everything. That's Davis Field, any walks and trails, because we combine some line items together. It pretty much, that's the budget we do for any improvements, which we are going to do the butterfly garden, at least amend the soil, so it can either be
Milkweed, I hear, works for one.
planted by us, the Agriculture Commission, or the school. But at this point, go ahead.
Speak to Bruce Farr
Okay.
at the VOTEC. There's a science teacher and 4 students that next year will work on the butterfly garden, and that will include cleaning up all the rocks and debris so it can be mowed all the way back to the rec area.
Okay.
So you need to contact Bruce Farr.
Okay, because we had it to where we were gonna do it this year, pull out the stumps, because it's kind of a trip hazard at this point.
Yes, it is.
So we're at least gonna pull out the,
He has gone up there and looked at it with me. He's already done 4 projects here in town. Like when they did $5,000 worth of trimming out here and pulled all the junk cars out and whatever. He has to plan a year in advance because of his new teachers and all
we
of
have
that.
a volunteer to do that work.
If there is a volunteer that wants to coordinate that with you, go see Bruce Farr as soon as possible.
Okay.
And there's any, I mean, for recreational areas, I mean, you've got Central Park there,
Yeah.
you've got
I'm only questioning
beach on Callahan.
that, you know, we have a lot of money in here this year that we haven't spent, and we're asking for the same amount next year, so
Well, that,
Part of that was
Is
that
it time? It's-
repairs were donated.
some, yes, but for the biggest thing this year, we were gonna do the butterfly garden, and then it was a no, Agriculture Commission was gonna do it, and then it was no, Tuftonboro Central School was gonna do it, and we just really had a small window of time between the end of school and beginning of school, and with I mean, there's 4 of us on the commission, it's really a time issue of how many weekends we have available and whatever. So we just really kind of ran out of time on that, but I am trying to get it done this fall. And the money that's left in, because we're gonna have the pavilion painted, should be done by the end of the month. That will overspend the docks and maintenance line, and the rest would,
It'd still be under budget though.
right, it would come out of that recreational areas. Right, still be under budget.
Another thing is, people mentioned to me that there's been several more trees blown down on the paths on the Gould property.
Okay.
Is there a vendor we can hire to clean those trails up?
I can maybe talk to somebody about that, yeah. I don't wanna,
I went up there and, you know, it's nice to have volunteers, but as soon as you have chainsaws and
Right.
and where does the brush go, so it doesn't create a fire hazard. What I've done is, I've listed 6 projects in town, and Karen and Jack are working with me, and one of them was trimming the brush lower at the beach, so it's legal. But there's about 6 of those projects in town, and hey, local vendors, are any of you interested? Some of them, for example, mowing the bank on Lake Street, the mowing that needs to be done back to the borders at the transfer stations. I don't know if there's someone we can budget some money for that. But that is one of the trails that's used almost daily, and the people who've mentioned to me are not complaining, they're just reporting it back.
also with recreational areas, we talked about having a fall cleanup at the beach. So that would come out of that line item as well. And we need to do it again in the spring.
As I said, I'm not questioning the amount in the budget, it's just that we had the same amount this year, and a lot of it's
Right.
not yet spent, so it's good to have the money available, but it also ought to
Right, I know.
be a reasonable reflection of what we expect to spend. So, yeah, it sounds to me like there's gonna be some additional costs going into that
Yeah.
line before the snow flies. Okay,
My motion's still on the table.
Yes, it is.
and is that for a total budget of 36,761, or
It
is it?
is.
Okay, well, I wasn't clear if that was just to increase it, and is it seconded?
Yes, it's been made and seconded. Are we ready to move forward?
I am.
All those in favor say aye.
I am.
If there's a cost for the trail, we can amend this at a later time.
Okay. I do have one, if you have a minute. I met with Shane Folsom about the beach improvement.
Mhm.
And we talked about adding sand, but the rock wall that's there now is pretty low. And we can add sand to it, but it's gonna wash out like it has in the past. He questioned whether or not we would be interested in fixing that, making it higher possibly, and adding, because now you have to step over it to get down to the water, and adding access points to the beach to help with the wash out the erosion, because we can add sand to it and it's still gonna, if it's not addressed, there's no sense adding sand to it, because it's just gonna.
It's illegal to add sand on the water side of the Perch Beach.
Right, we're talking about the perch part, but it's now washing down to the water side.
So we're adding sand.
Yeah, pretty much.
And hasn't the Conservation Commission agreed to work in this whole area here? Because Mike Phelps, for example, said he's located 2 drains
Yeah.
that are meant to take the water, instead of heading toward the lake,
Right.
put it under the road back into the estuary.
Well, that's-
Legally and safely.
And what I talked to him about was doing the permit, helping us with the permit process, because he said there's a wetland and a shoreline permit. He said the shoreline permit, adding re-leveling out the grassy area by the pavilion. He said we could probably do that without a problem. He said that probably wouldn't be an issue with the state at all because you're fixing, and if we were to add a rain garden that helps with erosion and water ending up in the lake. He said the state would be glad to see that. The shoreline one with adding sand is probably gonna be an issue anyway, but especially with that wall not being, it's not really doing anything now. I mean, there's a silt barrier there, the felt, you can see it in places, and you can clearly see that the clean sand is washed down onto the beach. But it's just a matter of cost. How much money do we think we want to put into this? A, the design of the project, and then the whole project.
As I understand it, part of where Steve was coming from is if you can get the water, instead of moving this direction, move this direction.
Right, and that
It
would
mi- it
be
mitigates.
raising that wall, because it's pretty, I mean, it does, it's pretty low. There's a swale
Mhm.
in the grass that catches some of the water, but it's the rock, and, you know.
Well, I also asked to maintain, what does it need for a tar there? Is there a special impervious tar or stuff like this? No, these are all maintenance costs. Again, Steve seemed to, and his committee seemed to be willing to work with you on that.
Right, and like, so, and Steve's the one that recommended talking to,
He also speaks DES, so.
right, and that's, I mean,
So what, is there a cost involved in this, doing this, and what is that?
the design, I need to get him some more information, and then he will get us a cost for the design. That's kind of been the hold up with the whole process, because we need to know what it costs before we move forward. But I guess, do we want to have him do a design that fixes that? Or
How much higher are we talking about the wall being?
he said you would need to add access points,
Mhm.
whether it
So
be
that's an issue.
stairs or a ramp or however, and he said it may be 2 access points. He needs more information before he can really give me an idea on price of the design, so.
Information, like what?
The original, he'd like to see it if we could get the original permit that was filed to do the beach, the
Okay.
tax map, all that kind of stuff. So I have some homework to do, but,
I'm sure that's on file.
Mhm. and there were actually 2 permits, I think, when the state moved the road,
Right.
and then when the town put the beach in,
Yep.
Right.
and then there was probably another one for when the pavilion was put in.
I have a question. Who is the he you're referring to?
Shane Folsom, Folsom Design Group.
Shane Folsom?
Mhm.
Oh, anything else for us? Thank you for what you and your committee does, it's appreciated. Thank you.
Hey, we done?
Thanks, Jan.
Yep.
Back to
Yeah.
signatures.